Good morning, everyone. With the billboards going up on Friday and coming down on Monday, and all of the associated press in between, including the polls and the Twitter polls and all of that other stuff, that basically said 80% of people don't want mass immigration. This is certainly an accurate meme. And it's got a green, unimpressed guy in the middle of a circle of guns at his head, and it says how it feels when I say I'm against mass immigration, which is strange because that's how they want you to feel. But it's a very, very small minority of people who are against this. What a crazy story against the billboard. Let me be clear, not against mass immigration. An 80% majority in the last poll I saw, which was a Twitter poll, which is not weighted, et cetera, has issues, but be aware, it's an overwhelming majority. Same with all of the weighted polls as well. Only 6% of Canadians want more immigration, which is what Justin Trudeau is promising. Okay, here is David Aitken tweeting. He says, "What a crazy story. Third-party advertiser disavows mass immigration message on billboards." So now even Mr. Smink is disavowing these billboards. Global News is reporting third-party advertiser disavows mass immigration message on billboards. I'm just going to read the part where he disavows it. He says, quote, "We completely disavow any sympathy with or support for the views expressed by donors who paid for and selected the content of the advertising, which we were mistakenly not afforded an opportunity to first approve." Frank Smink, the head of True North Strong and Free Advertising Corporation, wrote in an email to the Canadian press on Monday. So they didn't even approve it. Pretty crazy, right? And I just think that this story, with the twists and turns and the outrage and the faux outrage, well, here, I want to show you the polls. Here's Mr. Bernier's poll, and he said a third-party group with no link to the PPC has bought billboards across the country to call for an end to mass immigration. What do you think? And it says yes to mass immigration, 19%. No to mass immigration, 81%. You controversial, right? This is what they want you to feel like, but this is the reality. And here's a Ledger poll that has a smaller majority, but still a strong majority of people. This is Global News reporting majority of Canadians think immigration should be limited. Poll. 63% of respondents to a recent Ledger poll say the government should prioritize limiting immigration levels because the country might be reaching a limit in its ability to integrate them. And again, this is how they want you to feel. That is the point. And the silencing and all of that other stuff is meant to make you feel this way. Every single news article is written from the perspective of these 20% of people. Really. And they're saying, this is abhorrent. You can't talk about this. We can, and we will. And if you have a walk through Mr. Bernier's Twitter account today, which I just did because I've been building this video, and I build videos early in the morning with other links. I don't generally do Maxime Bernier Twitter roundups every day, right? So I don't always walk through, but I walk through every day with the purpose of looking, not with the purpose of building a video. But today, there's all sorts of these popping up, right? So in creating this billboard and having it censored, it's been a much bigger story than it otherwise would have been, right? Here's a defund the CBC. Here's a French one. Here's say no to mass immigration. Here's another billboard. But they're all over the place. And so it's very, very interesting, right? In trying to silence this, they're actually making it blow up. This is called the Streisand effect, but it's very interesting. Here's the People's Party campaign launch in Beauce for Mr. Bernier, and that's news in and of itself, and I haven't got to it, and I apologize, but that's on me. So anyway, I don't want to get too waylaid here, but the point is, this silencing is not what most people want. Mass immigration is also not what most people want, provably so. And so I think people are going to be talking quite a lot, and I think things are going to be changing quite a lot between now and the election. And I think that it's interesting to pay attention to because, this is Canadian politics in modern year, right? And speaking of, the G7 has just wrapped up, and this is a G7 in photos, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, so we'll just look at the photos. This is the worst of the G7 in photos, and the hair and the socks, right? And checking for the reporter and the jog. Yep. And mugging for the camera, but the wrong camera, but the camera anyway. There's Boris. So it's interesting. The stories that came out are generally, here's one from Brazil. T. Lee Humphrey is tweeting, Brazil has rejected the $22 million the G7 donated. Hopefully they'll reject Canada's donation too. And CTV News is reporting Canada is pledging $15 million in aid to help fight wildfires in Brazil. CTV News reports. And here is CBC reporting. August 27th, latest on rainforest fires. Brazil says it won't accept the G7's offer of 20 million US to fight the blazes, suggesting it be instead used to reforest Europe. The government also makes a jab at France's Emmanuel Macron, saying he couldn't even protect a church from a foreseeable fire. Ooh, digs about Notre Dame. Here is Mr. Trump and Mr. Trudeau. I'm going to show you about a minute of this, and I think I have the sound issue figured out. If not, I might be moving to a different program altogether, but the download that I downloaded this morning didn't work, so I'm in contact with their troubleshooting. But that's some behind the camera stuff that doesn't need to be worried about. I'm only going to listen to a minute, and I hope the sound is better. I apologize for the other one, and I just don't have time to fix it. So, well, here we go.
For the American president at a summit full of pressures, this was a tame photo op. Two leaders on the same page about the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement.
We're going to be significantly expanding our trading relationship when the USMCA gets done and completed. Our farmers love it, the unions love it, the workers love it, manufacturers love it, everybody likes it. I think most Democrats like it, so hopefully that'll be put to a vote fairly soon.
The Canadians.
I think it's interesting they started the first 30 seconds of that clip focusing on Donald Trump and what Donald Trump is expecting within this trade of the USMCA, which doesn't look like it's going to get ratified because of some language that Justin Trudeau and Chrystia Freeland shoehorned in and Congress doesn't like because they don't like it. And they've been told they don't like it. So they, being the Canadian team, and Trump knows this too. But at 30 seconds to get to something about Trudeau. And I'll just got another 30 seconds. Here we go.
Inside described the half-hour meeting as cordial, even friendly.
Canadian and American economy are doing well, partially because of the trading relationship we have and the great work we did.
But in a year that...
If you talk to steel and aluminum people, though, is that it? Things going well there, guys? No? So it's very soft, right? The things they're showing about Trudeau, it's very, very 30,000 feet, there's no details, right? Remember last year's G7? There was some really specific details. They had this joint communique that Trump refused to sign his name to, et cetera, et cetera. So this is not committing to anything.
That relationship has come a long way, a very, very long way. At the G7 in Charlevoix, Quebec, amid tense NAFTA talks, Trump left early.
Right. So they're going back to last year's G7 to recap that without saying a whole lot about what's happened at the G7 for Trudeau. Not much at all. Here's Trudeau taking a jog. I saw this and I thought, does something happen? Like, is there a reason that they're showing this? Why is this? What is this? So I have no idea. This is supposed to be good PR or something, but it just looks like he's jogging and all the other world leaders are finishing up the summit. So I thought it was really strange, a strange thing to show. And it's like a minute and 44 seconds of Trudeau jogging. What? I don't care at all. CTV News is kind of trying to tie up the G7, and their report is from the 26th, updated on the 26th. So that's yesterday. And it says, this time Trudeau keeps low profile at G7 as election campaign looms. And I thought this was probably correct. He may have spent the weekend an ocean away from home, rubbing elbows with world leaders during tense talks on international crises. But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau kept cool, collected, and decidedly out of the fray. For a political leader who thrives in the flash of cameras and curated social media content, it was an uncharacteristic approach for Trudeau at the G7 summit in Biarritz, France, which wrapped up Monday. With the start of an election campaign just weeks away, Trudeau kept things low-key. He steered a wide berth around the debris field trailing U.S. President Donald Trump, save for one largely uneventful bilateral meeting, and stayed focused squarely on the Liberal Party's key election talking points: the economy, taking action on climate change, and raising the fortunes of the middle class. In their meeting Sunday, Trudeau praised a new, albeit not yet ratified, free trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, a favorite subject of Trump's. Gone was the tough talk about Canada not being pushed around, a sentiment that triggered a Twitter tantrum from the confines of Air Force One in the final moments of last year's G7 meeting in Charlevoix, Quebec. It seemed to work when right-wing commentator and Rebel Media founder Ezra Levant called out Trudeau on Twitter for what he called submissive body language. Trump himself came to the Prime Minister's defense. "No, we actually had a very good and productive meeting," Trump tweeted in response to Levant. Nice. And here's that tweet. Just want to show you. Donald Trump says, "No, we actually had a very good and productive meeting." Nice. And here's Levant's photo. And back to this. In each and every bilateral meeting with a world leader he held on the margins of the two-day summit, Trump, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson, German Chancellor Angela Merkel, and French President Emmanuel Macron, among others, Trudeau made sure to mention trade, the global economy, and climate issues. So he mentioned it, and there's no news of what he got out of it at all. Nothing. Abe and Trump announced a big new trade deal, big new trade deal. And Trump and Trudeau talked about the not yet ratified USMCA. And they said, he's going to mention trade and he's going to mention global economy. I mean, does talking about those things equal a mention at these levels? Oh, my guys will talk to your guys. And is there any kind of meaningful negotiation going on? Or is it just, oh, yeah, we're going to keep doing what we're doing? Back to the article. Canada pledges $15 million in the use of Canadian water bombers to help Macron. Macron also announced a $20 million commitment from the G7, part of which is to be earmarked for a long-term global initiative to protect the rainforest. Any link between the two is unclear, however. Officials appeared to be at a loss when asked whether the Canadian money was part of Macron's announcement or a separate offer to help. The money the G7 nations put forward for the Amazon will be aimed specifically at Brazil, Bolivia, Peru, and Paraguay, said Chilean President Sebastián Pinera, with urgent brigades to combat fires and specialized planes. Quote, we think we have to protect these real lungs of our world, Pinera said. Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, a populist far-right leader who initially dismissed the gravity of the threat, relented Friday and promised 44,000 soldiers to help battle the blazes, which mostly seem to be charring land deforested for farming and ranching rather than burning through stands of trees. Trudeau wasn't the only world leader hoping to quell any suggestions of discord. Hold on, I'm going to show you first. Here's NASA's Earth Observatory, and this is updated on the 22nd, August 22nd. So this is up to date as far as the 22nd. Today's the 27th. But I want to read you this. As of August 16th, 2019, an analysis of NASA satellite data indicated that total fire activity across the Amazon basin this year has been close to the average in comparison to the past 15 years. The Amazon spreads across Brazil, Peru, Colombia, and parts of other countries. Though the activity appears to be above average in the states of Amazonas and I'm not going to say that one. It has also appeared below average in Mato Grosso and Para, according to estimates from the Global Fire Emission Database. So I think that that's interesting. Bolsonaro dismisses this. The UN says, no, we're going to send this money. And so as of August 26th, unless the CBC tweet is later than that, oh yeah, 6:30 a.m. So looks like Brazil said it won't accept the offer. So that's more up to date than the CTV news that I'm reading. So looks like Brazil says, no, we don't need the money. But interesting, right? Interesting stuff that is different than the full-throated screaming from the press about, Brazil's on fire. It seems like every day there's a moving, the next thing, Alberta's on fire. Well, it's fire season. This happens. And we don't have any forestry regulations that cut down on it. We used to backburn. We used to have big roads, right? Fire prevention. So if you're a logging company, it would be very easy to legislate regulations that say a logging company has to have their roads concentrated in one area and you have to separate the trees by, 2 football fields or something like that. I believe that's reasonable. I read 4 football fields to prevent fire hopping, right? So if one acreage goes up in flames, there's no link to jump to the next acreage, and that's all because of the logging roads. That's a natural fire break, and the logging roads are necessary. These things are easy to work with. I'm not sure that you can do that in the Amazon. I'm just talking about Alberta. But the thing is, this constantly moving target goes with the seasons around the world, right? It's very insidious the way the press spins these things. So and over reports certain things and under reports. I've read reports that some of the images of the fires being shared were from different fire seasons, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is the press playing with you and playing with people's emotions about our world, right? Right alongside constant global warming articles talking about how the earth is heating up, et cetera, right? Not borne out in the data says a lot of science, a lot of scientists as well. Okay, that's enough out of me. Check out the People's Party of Canada.ca and have a wonderful, wonderful